Thomas Workman and A.J. Kavanagh are intuitive channels who have a remarkable ability to speak for a spiritual collective they call the Guides. They are unique in that they channel the Guides together, sharing one mind as they deliver messages. The primary interest of the Guides is helping us all live consistently in the state of joy, accomplished through a set of simple practices they call the Infinite Pathway. The Infinite Pathway, Journey to Self-Realization.
We are grateful for this time together, this time of connection, this time of intended connection for you. Yes, for you have seen recently in your time upon earth how connected you are, connected to world events, connected to emotions, connected to vibrations, connected to what you desire as the best outcome for yourselves, and how you see the environment in the world around you and the planet. There has been much contrast. Yes, there has been much contrast for you both personally and globally, and this serves for you to understand how connected you all are, both in terms of your connection to the planet and that of everything and everyone else. And so for you, it is time to understand the importance of connection.
Hi, I'm A.J. Kavanagh.
And I'm Thomas Workman. Welcome to the Infinite Pathway, Journey to Self-Realization.
We're talking through some of the most important messages from the Guides to help us on our infinite journey of self-realization.
We've discussed a number of principles that the Guides have offered over years of our channeling these messages to individuals and groups, and well, we're grateful for the chance to share this knowledge with you.
And as the Guides have just said, it's time to understand the importance of our connections.
That's right, because everything is connected.
Now, we know that sounds like a bumper sticker you buy at some New Age store, right? We get it.
Well, that's exactly why the Guides want us to not only understand this concept of everything being connected to everything else, but to integrate this consciousness into our daily lives, because it's the single most important principle in our ascension to oneness.
And that's exactly what the Guides are telling us. And it's very powerful. You know, it's amazing to watch the collective awareness grow around the concept of connection. For example, when the film Everything Everywhere All at Once was released, Tom and I were impressed that Hollywood had even considered making it. But they clearly saw there was an audience who was ready and able to get that incredible message.
Yeah, we assumed this would be a small niche film and wondered if people would understand or appreciate the concepts that the film espoused.
Well, 11 Academy Award nominations and 7 awards, including Best Picture, sure answered that question.
It sure did. So if you doubt that humanity really is ascending towards oneness, doubt no more.
Now, the Guides make the principle perfectly clear when they say very simply, you are connected to everything and to everyone.
But there's a lot more to understand about these connections and how they matter to our collective ascension. Let's start by hearing the Guides as they introduce this principle.
We wish to remind you that there is no separation. There is no separation. So just as we join with you in conversation today, there is no doubt of that. There is no separation with your star beings and the star family, the native elders, the nature sprites, and so on and so forth, your ancestors and your loved ones. Think of it as simply being in separate rooms. You need only open the door or make the connection. And we also remind you that there is nothing broken There is no need to reset the planet's consciousness, environment, or conditions as you may think it, as the media may portray it. The reset is in the changing of outlook, the changing of one's mind, the changing of considerations. And so therefore, we get back to the aspect today of creating connections. Creating connections, yes, the connections you have with your ancestors, your star family, the beings, your mother, your father, your children, your pets, your animals, your husbands, your wives. The connections you make bring about the transformation you seek.
If there's one message that the guides remind us of regularly, it's that there is no separation. And it's this simple message that comes up time and time again in our sessions.
Yes, and it's a great place for us to start because we really are taught, especially in Western culture, that everything and everyone in our lives is separate and distinct from us.
And that we're perhaps lesser mortals who are separate from the divine.
Yeah, it's interesting that the guides put their finger on the true issue. The issue isn't that our feeling of separation is because some connection is broken. It's that we haven't focused our attention on these connections. All we have to do is recognize connection as the way the universe operates and realize that our connectedness to everything is our natural state of being.
Exactly. Well, that's another case for self-realization, as the guides explain. Realize that there is no separation. The light of Source shines throughout the universe as it shines equally within you. This aspect of self-realization is significant for you, for it enables you the opportunity to realize that you are connected to everything and everyone. The wisdom is within you. There is no self, no separation. You are always connected. Yes, the guides often say that our connection to everything, to each other, to everything on our planet, to our spiritual guides, and of course Source itself, is really just a perspective that we need to adopt. Now, here's how they put it. New perspectives, new insights are able to come to you as you release preconceived ideas about yourself and others. As you step into the light, you find new realities, new worlds indeed open up for you, but most significantly, you will find that there is peace for you. And as you find and settle into this piece of your own I am presence, you are able to see that there is omnipresence, there is oneness, there is connection, there is no separation. You are connected to everything and everyone at all times.
That's amazing. But let's get specific. What exactly do the guides mean by connection?
Well, that is a great question. And of course, the guides simply supply the answer. Let's listen.
All of these things are connected, and you are connected to all of these things, for this is the basis of oneness. This is the understanding of the universe, for you are connected to every star, every planet, every being living now, living in the past, living in other dimensions. You are connected to all these things, and in that connection is what it is that you share. It is not profession, it is not body type, it is not ethnicity, it is not the things that you find superficial and have, as humans, made your connectors. No, these are the fact that you are all operating from the exact same energy source, that all of you are powered by the same energy brought to life by the exact same force that makes planets circle the sun and that creates new stars. You are of the exact same energy as all these things, of every living being, whether it is human or not. It is these connections that you have that are sources of great joy for you. They can be sources of great joy, for suddenly you are not alone. You are a part of something so much greater, something divine. And in that divinity, as you realize that divinity, there is a source of joy for you. Well, there it is. The connection we have with one another and everything else is source energy itself. I think that deserves a breath.
I do too. Well, that is so true. As unique and as individual as we all are, we all share the most foundational aspects of life across the universe. And once we understand that foundation, we can quickly recognize the many other shared aspects of our lives.
We've talked throughout this series about our connection to Source, which exists even when we're not practicing it.
And our connection, therefore, to divine light, which is always there for us, even when we're not feeling it. In fact, our connection to the light is what connects us to everything else. Here's a great message from the guides reminding us of this.
There is complete understanding within this light, for the light is what connects you with your environment, you with everything around you, you indeed with us and your guides and those that love you and are around you. The light that is within you. Notice how each of you have a natural desire to find this and locate this and expand this to grow within you, to strengthen within you. This is the expansion we speak of. This is the connection that we are referring to.
This is a foundational principle in the realization of our connection to everything else in the universe. All of our connections are centered in our connection to Source.
And if that connection isn't realized, it's easy for us to feel separated from everything else. Now, here's one of my favorite messages from the guides on this.
We have good news for you in this respect. Once you allow yourself the dropping and the letting go of these false pretenses, these false ideas that you have carried for so long regarding your being separated from one another, regarding your being separated from Source, regarding that you are somehow less than or not equal to the brightest star in the sky and the smallest grain of sand on the earth, in all of creation, in all of oneness. As you let go of these false premises about yourself and discover your I am, your own true inner being.
So, by letting go of the false pretense that we're all separated, we can focus back on our connection to Source. Let's hear the guides as they explain this.
We are saying something special to you, not just to you, but all humans on your planet at this time, that there is a bit of work to do to transition back to a natural state, your natural state of connection to the greater, your natural state of peace within, of the ability to remain in communion even as you busy yourself with the gathering and the earning and the other aspects of living, that this is what has become disconnected and is so critical for you as humanity to rediscover, for it is a part of why you are feeling in so much chaos at the time.
I love this understanding of how our feeling disconnected relates to all the chaos around us.
Yes, absolutely. It makes great sense. When you think about it, our false belief that we are separated from one another is really at the root of many of the problems we face as a society. War, violence, crime, even the crazy state of our politics and economy right now is a good example.
Right. Well, here's what the guides have said. The power of your mind is profound. Your mind generates vibrations that affect more than yourself. They affect your environment and are felt across the universe.
That's amazing, really. We all think we're just doing our own thing with no impact upon anyone else. But the guides suggest that even our thoughts and the vibrational frequency they emit have an effect on everything else. Here is another quote from the guides. You cannot help but affect those that are around you, and so we would encourage you to make the choice. I shall affect those as positively as I can.
Now, we haven't even gotten to the mind-blowing part yet. The guides explain that our connection to one another is much more than just the way we affect one another, but is part of an infinite network of connections within and between our lives that we can't always see in the moment. The guides recently explained this in a group channeling.
You hear this, yes, connection. Did you hear us say that all things are connected, for they are? And we would encourage you to meditate on this, for even in this room there is all connection. This is why we ask you again to step back, for it is in stepping back that you are able to see some of these connections in ways you perhaps cannot see when you are close up in the moment. For you see this individual who is perhaps causing you conflict or sadness or pain by what they say or what they do, and instead by stepping back you can see its connection to the pathway that you have been on for some time, and its connection to all others surrounding you, even the connection for this individual of all other past events and all other interactions that have led to their choice now to create whatever is causing you a pain or dissatisfaction or sadness.
Wow. I know we say that a lot, but wow.
Wow.
What the guides are saying is that there are no random interactions in our lives, but perfectly planned intersections along our life journeys.
Well, that's a very different way of thinking about the person sitting next to us in the traffic, isn't it?
It sure is. And we hear stories like that all the time. The person sitting next to me on the plane who just happens to be connected to something I'm interested in, or the random stranger who I meet who has the exact resource I need to meet my own goals and desires.
Yes, that's exactly right. We live in an age right now where we see humans focusing on their judgment of other beings rather than recognizing the deeper connection that we have between us.
Right. And we have the choice of realizing that connection and the potential we have to influence them positively by simply vibrating at a higher level.
So think of how differently we could experience community through our connections to each other.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. Even in our current state of awareness, we all understand the importance of communities in our lives.
That's right. Humanity has always relied on communities to survive and to thrive. From animals who live in packs to plant life that establishes a network of interconnected root systems that can actually share water and nutrients from one another even when they're miles apart.
And of course, humans live in communities for many of the same reasons: protection, resources, social companionship. And the foundation of it all is the realization of our interdependence.
The guides love to use metaphors and analogies of things we humans are familiar with to explain spiritual concepts, because these concepts can be seen in many of the aspects of our own lives.
That's right. Let's look at how the guides explain our connection and interdependence through two such metaphors: the beehive and the Merkaba.
We give you the image of the beehive, and at first glance how chaotic it looks, and yet when you go beneath the surface ever so slightly, you see an incredible order, an incredible structure, an incredible level of sophistication, an incredible level of cooperation and sharing, and an incredible foundation. This therein is what we are speaking of.
All is connected, therefore all is connected. This is what we wish for you to see in the honeycomb or in the Merkaba or in any of the images that you are receiving from your own guides. At this time, they are trying to say to you that all is connected and all is one.
Let's talk about this a moment, because what the guides are saying is that we have visual reminders of our connections everywhere, and those connections help create and support worldwide communities.
I know we're not there yet, but that's definitely where we're heading. I love the metaphor of the beehive because it really is the perfect example of interdependence. Every bee in the hive understands the importance of their role and actions on every other part of the hive. The guide suggests that there's a great deal we could gain by realizing this principle in our own communities. Let's listen.
Appreciate the community for what it is. It is a beehive. It is a sense of interdependency that says my work assists all other work, and my work exists only because of all other work. It is an understanding of the whole and my role within the whole and my appreciation of all of the other parts.
That's pretty important to remember every time we think what we do is more important than what anyone else does. Now, let's talk about the other image the guides mention, the Merkaba, and the many ways we see our connection in all of sacred geometry.
We could do an entire episode on sacred geometry alone and how Source teaches through these symbols, but let's explain a bit more about this image in particular.
You bet. The word actually comes from three Egyptian words, Mer, which means light, Ka, which means spirit, and Ba, which means body, Merkaba. In it, you can see the tetrahedron that represents the Star of David and pulls together the concepts of balance and stability. But what I love about it is the representation of connectedness to everything and everything else.
Right. The guides often project this image to us during our channeling as they help people see these connections in their own lives.
We're hearing more and more people say that they are seeing sacred geometry images all around them. And it's no coincidence. Here's the guides talking about this.
Why you are so connected, and why so many of you are seeing sacred geometry. For here too, you see the beautiful connections between the lines. It is those connections that we are most interested in. For it is those connections that is where you create your collective power. It is where you find your energies combined in ways that you have not yet, as a species, fully experienced to this point. In these times, however, they are growing close, and they are coming to you.
Another image the guides use often is the circle, which is represented in the Merkaba here as well. Let's listen as I talk more about this.
Note that all of your sacred geometry, that all of the images, even with their many sharp angles, always include the circle, always conclude with the circle which surrounds it. Note that all are points upon the circle and their intersections across the circle, where there is no beginning and there is no end.
Okay, it's time to get practical about all of this. How does realizing our connection to everyone and everything help us in our infinite journey?
Well, Tom, there are plenty. And of course, the guides make this very clear. Let's start with our understanding of how our connection changes the way we interact with everything around us. The guides suggest we use this consciousness. As you drop the pretenses about yourself, about right and wrong and separation and worth, and as you enter into a community of knowledge and oneness and understanding, you become aware of the connections, and you become aware, you sense and you feel a heightened sense of compassion. You shall find your harsh words that are spoken end up hurting you more than they were intended to hurt someone else. So, dear ones, you shall find greater connection with everything and everyone, the plants and the trees and the animals and your brothers and your sisters and the stars, and great connection shall be found, and great expanses shall be had, and new communities shall be formed in ways that shall surprise and delight.
We're definitely seeing these conscious communities forming all around us, making this an exciting time to be on the planet.
Oh, it sure is. And I love the idea that my realizing my connection may be in the dropping of any pretense that I have that I'm better than anyone else, or even how much more difficult my life is than any others. These pretenses just separate us, and as hard as they are to admit, the more honest we become about these hidden beliefs, the easier it is to feel our connection to others.
Well, that sounds like a great daily practice.
Agreed. Let's make that our first.
This is a consciousness practice, and it requires you to look fearlessly at your thoughts and reactions that you have to other humans, especially those who are very different from you.
Right. These may be long-standing beliefs that you have about people who are different race or ethnicity or socioeconomic status or lifestyle, even physical appearance. The goal is not for you to feel guilty about these judgments, because that sure won't help anything, but instead see the opportunity for empathy and an understanding of the many things that connect us rather than separate.
This was a powerful exercise for me. I realized that I had lots of judgments about people who were different than I was, and many of these were based on fear and misunderstanding. This led me to a practice that I would do when I lived in Washington, D.C. and took the subway to work every day. I would look for those who seemed most different than myself, and I would say to myself, that's my brother, that's my sister. And I did that just to help me remember that we're all the same universal energy.
That's right. Again, there is no separation. And I just love that exercise, Tom.
I do too.
Now that leads us to another daily practice, that of our feeling compassion for those around you. Now, you can do this at any time you are around people who may behave or express themselves in ways that you find different or maybe even dislike.
Yeah, the guides remind us often that one of our energetic centers, our heart chakra, generates our compassion naturally and simply needs to be activated. It may be a great idea to build more time meditating on this energy center if feeling compassion is difficult for you.
Remember too that all of the chakras are connected and your other activated chakras support the energy of your heart. So the energy of your security created in the root chakra and your sense of your soul's identity as divine in your solar plexus are important contributors to the compassion of your heart.
Soon you'll find that there are endless opportunities to express empathy, compassion, and love every day, as the guides express here.
We would say to you that there are always ways to show compassion and love to one another. There are always ways to brighten one another, for you are aware that you, as vibrational beings, affect the vibration of all things around you. You know that, in fact, your vibration is contagious in either direction. Your vibration is one that it cannot help but affect those around you. And so your consciousness of your own vibrational frequency, of your own vibrational stance is perhaps your greatest contribution to the whole.
Now, we can't end this episode without sharing something the guides have been talking about quite a bit lately, and that's our growing opportunities to interact with beings from other dimensions. Now, if you think humans are vastly different than you are, then wait until you encounter some of the interplanetary beings.
That's right. And as we come closer to disclosure and interaction with beings from these other civilizations, it's important that we remember all we're learning about connection there as well. Here's the guides addressing this very issue. There is more to the universe than just the human race. A revelation, yes. A quantum leap forward in your understanding and ability to connect with us on the higher realms.
We invite you to look beyond, for the capacity is there, and the ability for you is there to see so very much more around you, to see that there is an endless eternal realm, that there are parts of your creation, same as you, of the same energy as you, that exist in so many dimensions. These are all within your grasp, within your realm, and these are moving closer to you, not in physical form. These are, in some cases, becoming apparently closer. They have always been close. What we are speaking of is a connection within your spirit. We're speaking of a connection that you have with all of the universe that does not seem as practical to you in your daily living, and yet here is a great source of joy for you, and that this will be more and more revealed for you.
Okay, one last daily practice, and this one is just plain fun.
This practice is called Finding the Connection, and it's a simple and fun thought exercise. So, as you go about your day, try and identify your connection to everything you encounter, from the food that you eat to the people and animals you interact with. Now, as most of you know, I love the music from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, a song comes to mind by Pat Benatar that seems appropriate right here, where she sings, "We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder. We belong to the sound of the words we've both fallen under. Whatever we deny or embrace, for worse or for better, we belong together."
We belong. Okay,
We
sorry.
belong.
Nice. Well, every circumstance, every situation is always connected. So have fun thinking about these connections and their divine role in your greatest and highest good. We'll let the guides say more.
We ask you now to take this time to connect with others around you, others on the planet. We see and recognize your close connection to your animals that are with you, and the plants and the trees and the environments around you, and to connect with those and to see their divinity and their beauty and their ability to be comfortable in the perfect moment, whether there be a breeze or a storm, a drought or a rainfall.
Yes, your animals are there to show you the exact examples of what we speak of, and even in their ability to connect to a larger consciousness.
As always, it's such a joy to have you join us today and to hear the messages of the guides. We hope they provide you with both information and inspiration.
We'll leave you with one final message from the guides and look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
You are entering a time when it is most critical for you to recognize your connections not only with one another, but with all other beings that exist, those that are on this planet and those that are on other planets and other systems and in other dimensions. Finally, we remind you of your heart, for it is your heart that has the capability only of compassion. And so we remind you that in fact it is easy for you to instead allow judgment, to allow competition, to allow condemnation, to allow these sorts of emotions to take control, yet it is not your natural system to do so. Compassion, empathy, this is what is part of your makeup. This is who you are. And so equipped with all of these things, you are able to enter into a perfect community. You are able to find your connections to one another, for there are very many. And from there, to build something beautiful, what you often refer to as oneness. It is why we are here, and we are not alone, for the room is filled with individual beings in non-physical, in the etheric realm, who are cheering you on. You, human, cheering you on and excited about your future. We ask for you to join them in this excitement. And with this, we are complete.
coming up in the next episode of The Infinite Pathway. For the latest messages from Thomas, AJ, and the guides, please join them on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, or follow them on Instagram at Speaking From Source. You can also book your personal session with the guides on their website, speakingfromsource.com.